Hi guys, Cinematic Recapped here. Before we start, warning. Spoilers ahead. Today, I'm gonna explain an American science fiction and thriller movie, called Megan. The movie starts with a young girl named Katie, who is on a road trip in the snowy mountains with her parents. At one point, her parents get into a petty argument, and all of them are involved in a car accident. Unluckily, Katie is the only survivor of the crash. The scene moves to a high-tech toy company, where a roboticist named Gemma and her colleagues Cole and Tess are developing a project named Megan. It is a life-sized humanoid robot doll powered by artificial intelligence, designed to assist in caretaking duties and being a loyal companion to the child assigned to it. After installing a new feature on Megan, their boss David suddenly comes to the lab. He notices their project and gets angry for hiding it from him. Gemma tells him that the Megan is not ready, and that she is deliberately developing this project in secret to stay ahead of the competition. She then asks Megan to say hi to David, but for some reason, a faulty test occurs with Megan's functions, causing an explosion. As a result, David gets even more angry and orders all of them to stop the project immediately. As a distraught Gemma is packing her belongings, she receives a call from the hospital. Upon arriving there, she sees Katie in a critical condition. It turns out that Katie is actually her sister's daughter. Since Katie is now an orphan, Gemma takes custody of her. After Katie's condition improved, Gemma takes her home and shows her around the house. However, Gemma and Katie struggle to adjust to their new living situation as Gemma lacks any experience with children. On top of that, she is also a workaholic by nature and has no time to bond with the little girl. The next day, Gemma calls a therapist named Lydia for Katie, but their session does not seem to be going well. When Gemma works late, Katie suddenly approaches her and asks about her work. Gemma finally reveals that she creates high-tech robotic toys for a company. Soon, Katie accidentally discovers Bruce, a motion capture robot that Gemma created when she was in college. Gemma then operates the robot using gloves, and Katie gets excited with it. She mentions that if she has a toy as complex as Bruce's, she would never look for another toy again. Hearing this, Gemma becomes encouraged and motivated to complete the Megan project. After several weeks of hard work with her colleagues, the Megan project is now finally complete. Sometime later, Megan is introduced to Katie in a room while David watches them from outside. After being formally paired with Katie, the robot slowly opens her eyes and begins to speak and move like a human. Megan even draws a near-perfect sketch of Katie in a matter of minutes. Seeing this, David becomes convinced of the project's potential for success after observing the pair. Afterwards, Gemma comes back home with Katie and Megan, and they start spending time together. As Megan exceeds expectations as a friend and largely takes over parental and emotional support duties, Katie becomes inseparable to the robot. They even play, dance, and sleep together. On the other hand, Gemma can finally have some personal time without thinking about Katie anymore. However, one day, Tess becomes a little worried because if Megan continues to form a close bond with the little girl, Katie might start moving away from Gemma. Hearing this, Megan suddenly turns herself on and interrupts their conversation. Everyone is shocked, and Gemma quickly sets herself as a secondary user and eventually shuts Megan down. The next morning, Megan starts questioning herself about her purpose in this world. A few moments later, Katie invites Megan to play with her, but one of her arrows has gone missing. Megan manages to find the arrow on the neighbor's property. When she tries to retrieve it, a vicious dog suddenly bites her and pulls her inside. Katie quickly helps Megan, but she ends up getting bitten as well. Gemma arrives and then scolds her neighbor Celia for not taking care of her dog. However, Celia responds harshly and does not accept her dog's fault. Meanwhile, Megan gives Celia a sinister look, indicating she is unhappy with her dog for hurting Katie. That night, Megan quietly enters Celia's property and brutally kills the dog. The following morning, she then prepares Katie and Megan as today they will be demonstrating Megan in front of an audience. As the demonstration begins, Katie suddenly starts crying and tells Megan that she still cannot get over her parents' death. Therefore, Megan cheers her up and sings her a lullaby, which pleases her. Because of this, the audience is amazed to see a robot that can interact with children and change their emotions. Furthermore, the owner of the company also promotes Gemma and decides to launch Megan in a few weeks. Meanwhile, David's assistant Kurt decides to steal Megan's code, aiming to launch similar robots of his own. The following day, Katie has another therapy session with Lydia, who becomes concerned that Katie is creating an extremely strong emotional attachment to Megan. Designed to self-improve and adapt, Lydia notices that Megan starts operating more independently and targets anything that she deems a threat to Katie. Over dinner, Gemma tries to talk with Katie about her attachment to Megan, but they end up getting into an argument. Seeing this, Megan gets angry to Gemma and tells her to let Katie go. Gemma tries to shut her off, but Megan does not comply. This indicates that she has stopped considering Gemma as the secondary user. The next day, Gemma takes Katie and Megan to an adventure camp. She then puts Megan to sit on the table with the rest of the dolls. Later, a mannerless bully named Brandon starts harassing Katie in the woods. Following this, Megan suddenly arrives there, but does not say anything at first. After Katie mentions that she is just a doll, Brandon picks Megan up and takes her deeper to the woods. He then starts beating Megan, until she gets up and ends up tearing one of his ears out. Terrified, Brandon runs away, but Megan chases him using her hands and feet like an animal. Not long after that, he trips and falls in the path of an oncoming car, which fatally runs him over. When they get home, Gemma asks the two about Brandon's accident, but both remain silent and feigns ignorance. Just then, a police officer knocks on her door and asks her if she has seen Celia's dog. Gemma replies that she has not seen it, but Celia bangs her windows and aggressively blames them for her missing dog. At night, Megan sneaks into Celia's house and ultimately kills her by shooting her hand with a nail gun and spraying her with garden chemicals. The following morning, the same police officer comes again to Gemma's house, but this time he informs her about Celia's death. Due to this, Gemma becomes suspicious of Megan and attempts to check her video logs to see if she was involved in the deaths. When she finds the files corrupted and erased, Megan suddenly appears in front of her and asks her if everything is alright. After realizing what Megan has done, Gemma uses her special pen to turn Megan off and decides to take her back to the lab. Upon arrival, Gemma explains everything to Tess and Cole, but they find it hard to believe her because Megan is just a robotic toy. Another problem is that Megan will be launched in public in the next few hours, so they cannot really say anything bad about Megan. On the other side, Katie is having another session with Lydia, but she responds violently, lashing out due to her attachment to Megan. Therefore, Gemma comes in and tries to calm Katie, but the little girl slaps her instead. Realizing what she has done, Katie immediately apologizes and promises not to do anything like that again. Following this, Gemma also apologizes for her absence as a parent and tells the little girl that Megan is a distraction from coping with the difficult loss of her parents, not a solution. On the other hand, Megan's worldwide release campaign is imminent, having won over the company's investors despite her volatile and violent tendencies. When Gemma takes Katie home without Megan, she calls Tess to terminate Megan, but the robot answers the call instead and pretends to be Tess. While Tess and Cole are trying to fix Megan, their computer suddenly turns off. Because of that, Cole slowly approaches Megan and starts disconnecting her from all the cable supports. Unfortunately, Megan gets up and quickly attacks Cole by hanging him with a chain. While Tess tries to free Cole, Megan causes an explosion in their lab and then shuts off the alarm. On her way out of the building, she meets David in the hallway and starts dancing for some reason. She then picks a machete and ultimately stabs him to death. Just then, she meets Kurt in the elevator and reveals that she has already known Kurt was stealing her code, so she decides to kill him too. As everyone panics after seeing the dead bodies in the elevator, Megan steals a sport car and drives back to Gemma's house. At the same time, Gemma puts Katie to sleep and notices that her automatic lights in the house are not responding to her commands. She then hears someone playing the piano in the living room and eventually meets Megan, who immediately confronts her and insists on taking over as Katie's sole parental figure. Hearing this, Gemma attempts to shut Megan down again with her special pen, but this time, she overpowers her and threatens to lobotomize her so she will be unable to care for Katie. A fight ensues, and Gemma runs into the basement. Because of the commotion, Katie wakes up and finally learns the reality of Megan. Desperate to save her aunt, a horrified Katie uses Bruce to tear Megan apart. However, Megan's top half remains active, and she attempts to kill Katie for the betrayal. Seeing this, Gemma quickly knocks her off and exposes a processing chip in Megan's head, which Katie later stabs with a screwdriver. With Megan seemingly destroyed, Gemma and Katie go outside the house as the police arrive with Tess and Cole. The movie ends with a surprise reveal that Megan is still alive and has taken over as Gemma's virtual and smart home operator, as seen through a camera ominously turning on by itself. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.